I'd honestly say the cleaners found the changing room floor just fucking littered with plaster Paris socks the next morning because a bigger group of wankers you could not wish to find. Like self-indulgent, lazy wine and tossers. Like, can you imagine how it must feel to be a sound Man United fan? And I'm sure one or two of them exist.
Tim Sherwood here. You're listening to the Villa podcast.
And just like that, we are in the top 10 again. Remember last season where we spent what felt like 10 months in 11th place, and the top 10 just always felt untouchable? Not anymore. We go back into the top half whenever the hell we want. And just like that, we're level with Newcastle in 7th place. We're 1 point off third. Just like that, Aston Villa are back. Yes, we beat the worst team in the league by far. Yeah. Yes, Sean Dyche had no plan of any kind to do anything to exploit Villa in any way. And yes, we picked up what looks like another long-term bloody injury. But it was nice. It was just nice to be hammering a team. It was nice to be able to feel that feeling again when you picked up the ball, you were going to score. And it's nice to have that bit of optimism that we all had just before last week. It's nice to have that back in the pit of the stomach, and now you're looking forward to European football, and Leon Bailey is amazing. And sure, isn't life wonderful this week?
It's amazing that you mentioned Saudi Arabia there, because I think it was about 25 minutes into the game last week when I was like, right, who are we playing next week? And sort of looking up our fixture list. And then when I was reminded that we were at home to Everton, it genuinely made the rest of that game more bearable. But then you wake up on the Sunday after 2 days of drinking, you're walking around in the sun wearing a sweatshirt and putting up with it because that seems more manageable, less hassle than stopping and taking off your backpack, putting the jumper over your head, trying to get it into your fucking bag. Ugh. And there's some lad sitting at the top of the street with a fucking keyboard on his lap who sounds like he's just found it on the side of the road and he's hitting the keys to find out what they fucking do. Like that can all lead to the darkness settling in. And look, I knew Aston Villa were going to beat Everton at home, but that wee fucker in your head, not the lad on the keyboard, the one that pops in. All right, imagine Sean Dyche just standing there laughing at John McGinn, who's raging because Onana's just run over the top of him and bundled the ball through to Calvert-Lewin to bundle one into the net. But Colin, that was just a hangover. And also, I've got something to admit. I didn't watch Everton versus Fulham on the first day of the weekend of the season. I know I like to present myself as football mad, but I didn't tune in for Everton Fulham. Like, I was probably too busy twiddling my thumbs and staring into space. I just couldn't fit it in. So I didn't know that Sean Dyche's tactical evolution from Frank Lampard was to move Iwobi from centre midfield to the wing, but still play him centre midfield. Like, nobody told me they were playing Abdoulaye Doucouré as a number 10. Everton played 5 centre midfielders yesterday, and they looked like they couldn't pass a fucking stool after a Vindaloo, which is ironic because that was the shittest performance I've seen at Villa Park since Richards, Okori, Lescott and Sissoko went out in the fucking pool on Valentine's Day in 2016 and got fucked by Liverpool.
They were very bad. And I can't believe Sean Dyche has gone from Burnley to Everton, and all the talk from him, even before he got a new job, was that he did what he had to do at Burnley. If he had to do at Burnley, it would be completely different somewhere else. He's taken a bigger club, a better team, and he's gone from 4-4-2 to 4-5-1. And that 5, like you say, isn't the 5. It's 5 in the very middle. Formation should be rebranded to include players playing out wide or not, because there definitely should be a different type of number for the 5 that they're playing in midfield. But it was so easy. It was so easy for Villa. They didn't have to be good. I have a friend who's an Everton fan, very fond of him. Some of my best friends are Everton. He texts me saying, he texted me before the game saying, I've got a good feeling about this. I don't know why. And before I even had read his messages, Villa had already scored 2. and I just said to him, Everton are a mess. I didn't even comment on the game really. And he said, Hey, Villa weren't that good, by the way. And I was like, I know. That's why you're such a mess. Villa didn't have to be good. And it was the easiest game they'll ever play. Thank God we have to play Hibernian before we get a tough test against Burnley. I wouldn't want to be going into playing against actual decent football teams in the Premier League, having gone bouncing in from the Everton match. It was bad, and it all started with with John McGinn, the captain, the guy who promised fantasy football fans that he was going to better his one goal last season. And I wish I had a bloody listened to him. We'll talk about that later in the fantasy football segment. But, I mean, we have to get real. You did question our midfielders' goal contributions last season. And here they are carrying us now. I mean, it starts with Dougie, just gets away from a tackle, drills it to Diaby. Whole first half, I felt like Diaby was just dropping into that number 10 and turning on the ball so well, head up, always just making things happen. This time, he needed his face to help him with the first touch because it ricocheted up and hit him on the face, but he did get it under control. He did drive forward and he did feed Mint Bailey, and Mint Bailey gets it onto his right. And I have a theory. About Leon Bailey's right foot. Do you know the way Dolly Parton once said, if you want the rainbow, you have to put up with the rain? If you want Leon Bailey's right foot to be as deadly as you and I both know it is, then it's very clear that you have to put up with a game of him trying to cut inside over and over and never succeeding. Because there's no way Ashley Young or anybody at Everton would think he's going to go onto his right, and bang, there he goes. And when he goes onto his right, we knows what happens, and John McGinn knows what happens, and his movement is great, and the finish is nice into the net.
Absolutely. And when I see Leon Bailey go on to his right foot, I feel like Paul Scholes when he sees his daughter in a pair of sandals. I just know something tasty is coming. And to be fair to Ashley Young, like he said, who looked very old yesterday, he spent the second half of last season watching Leon Bailey coming sprinting back towards him, trying to bundle the ball back out because he's turned into trouble. So he couldn't have been expecting Bailey to go on to the byline. But he's far too flat-footed, and Bailey does brilliantly to exploit it. And when he does, and then he does absolutely brilliantly to lift the ball as well. I mean, I think there are two players sliding in to block it, and it's good movement from both Watkins and McGinn to give him two options, and he picks the right one, and McGinn doesn't let him down.
No. And then the second goal came quickly after, and it starts with a Matt Cash left-footed cross. I mean, talk about being in the mud. Never want to see Matt Cash on his left foot again. I'll admit, didn't want to see Leon Bailey on the team sheet today, and I'm sure I am not alone in that, but it's fine. Look, we just ride the roller coaster. Anyway, Leon Bailey does get away with a big Rosenthal moment because his header is not good. Cash puts it into him. It's a nice ball in. The only thing is that Watkins is running onto his header and he pokes it around the England number 1, and then the England number 1 doesn't know where the ball is, but I mean, we all know the Superman punch is his default when the ball is anywhere near him, so he comes straight out with his two fists, but this time he tries to do it on Ollie Watkins' face, so the England number 1 dives towards Ollie Watkins' face, swinging a big haymaker at him, and if you actually slow it down, it's unreal reflexes from Watkins. It's like Floyd Mayweather. He just pulls his neck back just enough to watch the England number 1's fist breeze by the hairs on his nose. It's so close to it, but it's like he's under control. He knows exactly where his fist is the whole time. And anyway, he gets clattered with the rest of Pickford's body, and Villa get the penalty. And it turns out if you can plant the ball into the far top corner from the corner of the pitch, you can plant the ball into the side netting from the middle of the box, and Douglas Luiz on penalties is going to make my life so much more manageable.
It's a great ball from Cash, and Bailey is an absolute acres of space. Torres, Bailey, Watkins, and McGinn are all completely free by the time the ball leaves Matt Cash's left foot. It's absolutely indefensible defending, and it's not a good connection from Bailey. But if it wasn't for Jordan Pickford's heroics, that would have been his second assist of the game. I mean, that is the most unconvincing Superman impression from the most unconvincing goalkeeper in the league. And it turns out his kryptonite is Leon Bailey's 4th header of his fucking career, trickling into the 6-yard box. And then he's pretending to be injured afterwards, drawing attention to the fact that he collided with Ollie Watkins while simultaneously protesting the decision. Like I was just about to say the only place that lad is injured is between his ears, but I'm not sure there's anything in there to injure. And why is he trying to slap Watkins in the face? Like, Watkins hasn't been picked for the last few England squads. Like, he hasn't seen him in a while. What's the crack, pal? Was it a show of affection? You look back at the incident again as well. You know, as Patterson is scrambling back onto the line, he does really well, to be fair to him. Michael Keane is literally scratching his head trying to figure out what has just happened. Like, how has life come to this? He used to play for Man United. He made his debut next to Phil Jones, David De Gea. behind him and fucking David Moyes. No, actually, that doesn't sound that different, does it?
Michael Keane, 3-0. What is this boy still doing playing Premier League football? I don't know what he's doing here, and I don't know what he's doing in this particular move as well. He stretched out to reach a ball that wasn't really going anywhere, and he thought it was safer to caress it into the middle of his own box to two unmarked Villa players. Like, once again, Villa players free in the box, and this started with a set piece, like a throw in on the left. I mean, Everton are lucky Matt Cash didn't go over to take that, because we could have gotten that in a lot sooner and a lot more directly if we had got our main throw taker over to the left wing. But anyway, Michael Keane just touches it towards Leon Bailey, and it's on Leon Bailey's right foot, so we know it's going to be punished as severely as possible.
Yeah, it's a good idea from Luca Dean, who's obviously been in training all week with Austin McPhee, and he spots Everton are asleep, and Michael Keane, like he said, he's obviously having fucking night terrors. Like, what in the name of God is going on here? If the only thing you can do to stop John McGinn chasing the ball towards the byline with your centre half partner up as ample arse, if the only thing you can do to stop that is to knock it perfectly into Leon Bailey's right foot in the middle of the goals, let the ball go past you. It's like, it's not worth it. And I would love to slag off Jordan Pickford for getting nutmegged here, but this is not on Jordan Pickford. This is on former Manchester United centre half Michael Keane.
And then the fourth goal. It's nice to be talking about a lot of goals again, isn't it? It's been too long. I know we've only played 2 games this
We
season.
talked about a lot of goals last week as well.
But it's Ashley Young to John Duran. I mean, it's a lovely, lovely assist from Ashley Young. This is the thing about Everton and Sean Dyche at the minute. This is so uncharacteristic. I don't remember. I don't remember Ashley Young doing anything like that when he was at Aston Villa. Like, it's such a bad mistake. I don't remember Ashley Young. Maybe posterity, he's changing it in my mind. I don't remember him being nominated for the What the Fuck award, really. This was crazy. And I think it's crazier. Is he trying to throw it to Michael Keane? He's throwing it very infield anyway to either whoever was on right midfield. I was going to like that could have been the right winger playing right centre midfield, or it was whoever was on the right centre back position, which is Michael Keane. And John Duran just puts the pressure on, takes a nice heavy touch, which draws the keeper. Then it's actually worked out really well for him, but he had so much space, so I'm sure he wasn't too bothered about where that touch was going, so he just adjusted. And it's a great finish. It's such a nice finish, actually. So cool, so calm, so deadly, and it just wheels away in celebration. I mean, the celebration's even better than the finish, because I like how do you like that type of celebration. And he's given it so much of the how do you like that? Like, that's what I do. That he ignores per Bertrand Traore first on the scene, trying to give him a little high five, and he ignores it, and Bertrand Traore has to just hug him, because Duran is just looking into the crowd. Presumably he's looking up to his family, but he's looking into the crowd, just, plenty more where that came from.
Yeah, and Villa Park legend Ashley Young is absolutely doing his best to go further up the list of greats from the Premier League era. And he gave Leon Bailey a much-needed boost to his confidence for the first goal, and rounds off his afternoon with an incredible through ball to Duran. And Ashley can't fool me pretending he's throwing that ball to Michael Keane. Ashley Young knows what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing there, and it's a lovely disguised pass to John. And Michael Keane has once again gone back to sleep. And look, I know some people aren't morning people. It takes people a few minutes to shake off the cobwebs. But making a fucking Pickford-esque attempt to win the ball is not appropriate behaviour. And also, this was a Sunday afternoon kickoff before the watershed. You can't just present yourself like that on live TV. There are children fucking watching. Unbelievable. And John Duran makes an absolute mess and fool of him. And again, it's a great finish. You're right.
Yeah, great finish. Great day. Easy day. I think it's going to be the start of a good week. People are going to be laughing now on Wednesday's podcast. But we'll enjoy this one as it comes. We're going to take a quick break because I've got some WhatsApp whinges. Only one fine I want to talk about, because it's a new one. An Aston Villa player asking to come off. I am sure that I saw Luca Dean in the 70th minute, maybe the 71st minute, signal for a prolonged period of time to the bench that he was tired, and he had his tongue out at one stage as if to say, oh my God, how much more running am I going to have to do? And he was doing the arm roll and sub sign, and I mean, Emery's looking back. He's looking back at his bench, looking for the other left backs behind him, saying, "No, you're all right, mate." I mean, they're not even playing a winger. Just suck it up. Just play there for the next 20 minutes. The game's over. Just see it out. I don't want to see a player asking to come off, and especially a player. He's probably leaving now anyway to go on loan to Nice, but it's especially a player who is fighting for that position with Alex Moreno. And we give Lucadine so much praise last year, and rightly so, for being such an asset coming in off the bench as well. I know it's a tough role, but I mean, surely there's something in you that wants to prove that you can do it. You can stay the pace. You can play the 90 minutes. Forget about Moreno when he comes back. Not like you've put a nice ball into the box at one stage for a chance that you got to know you want to come off. I mean, come on, suck it up.
Yeah, sitting on the bench and then having to come on after 60 minutes is a tough role mentally. Yesterday wasn't a tough role for Lucadini. I mean, the worst thing about this was that his afternoon was just him standing 25 yards out from the byline, launching delicious crosses into the Everton box. Like, what were they saying to him before the match? Like, make sure you keep an eye on James Garner. Lucadini had nothing to do yesterday. And maybe that's it. Maybe he was actually sarcastically suggesting to Dyche that he needs to take Garner off because he's fucking useless.
All right, the first WhatsApp whinge, and look, this is WhatsApp whinges out. Okay, so let's acknowledge that this is a safe zone for all of us, for people like me and you and people who get feelings in their guts. All right, it's WhatsApp whinges, okay? And I know it must be hard, and I've seen the Facebook post of Calvert-Lewin's dad, but come on. I said before the game. I said it to you. We were watching the game together, and I said he is going to come off 30-something minutes. You heard it. It happened. I don't even take much pleasure in that. It's sad to see this happen, and it's sad to be able to predict that. For I don't even know what his main injury was, but you know something's going to happen that he's going to come off, and he takes a bang to the face as Martinez catches a ball ahead of him, and he's down for a while. Like, don't forget there was 9 minutes added on to that first half, and it's like he's checking for blood. He's checking for blood, and he's having extensive conversations with the medical team. It's very clear he wants to come off, and he mustn't have been concussed. I'd say they were confident in that from the in-depth chat they were having with him. Like, you know, from the in-depth chat they were having about the best way that he could get out of this game. If anybody's ever read Catch-22, the only way you can leave the war is to prove you're insane. But if you tell them that you want to leave the war, then you're obviously very sane for wanting to do that. So you can't leave. You're not insane. And I don't want to make a weekly thing about head injuries because I don't think it's funny. But it's WhatsApp whinges. It's Calvert-Lewin asking to come off proves to that medical team that he is perfectly normal. Like, it's definitely good old Dominic in there. There's no notable changes in him. He's looking to come off. He's fine. Like, his head's absolutely fine. Like, he's just the same as he was 30 minutes ago, not wanting to play. And then he's there for another 10 or 15 minutes doing nothing. And there was one stage Martinez had the ball at his feet and he's waiting for someone to press him. And the camera pans behind the keeper and he's looking up the pitch to see, you know, so we can now see what he can see. And all I saw was the Everton striker standing in front of him, and rather than pressing the ball, he's just standing, touching his cheek, checking if it's still bleeding. You know, I don't know. If I was an Everton fan, like, that's not good to see. And if I was you receiving this WhatsApp, I wouldn't probably read the whole message because it was that long.
You're absolutely right, though. I can't think of a person I'd like to go to war with less than Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a worse image on a football pitch. That was such a stark image. I mean, because he's so delicately touching his cheek as well. And the worst thing for Everton fans has to be the realization that he has been talking shit anytime he has mentioned how he's chomping at the bit, how he just wants to get over his injury, whereas this lad doesn't want to play football. He doesn't. Yeah.
Like, I don't think Emi Martinez comes off there. Like, and again, the context is this guy was playing for another 10, 15 minutes, and you know, and the medical team had checked on him a couple of times, and like Emi Martinez, if he had been out for such a long time, the way Dominic Calvert-Lewin has been out, I don't think he's coming off for that collision. If it was his face in there, I think he wants to play. I think if you were chomping at the bit, there is an element of come on, like push through it a little bit, and if you're able to play 15 minutes, let's Like, let's see what you're like at halftime. Let's just make the next 10, 15 minutes and then see what you're like at halftime. Let's see what you're like after the match. I feel like if you really were chomping at the bit, there would be something in you to say, right, I've got a bang in the face, but I'm going to get through this match. And then I'll see where I'm at. I'm not coming off for that. It's not my hamstring again or whatever it was.
Yeah, exactly. And that's it, exactly. Like it's almost not a football injury. He can keep playing with this. It's going to be annoying. He mightn't be able to see quite as well because his cheeks puffed up. His fucking cheeks puffed up. Stay on the pitch.
Second WhatsApp whinge. Does Cameron Archer think I'm the sort of person to not notice someone yawning on the bench? I mean, I see it all on the bench. I see Bertie T snood. I see it all. And I see Cameron Archer having a little yawn to himself at the start of the match. And, I mean, anybody listening to this podcast now, we're in our 4th season of it. They know I just like players to look like they're ready anyway.
Like, I don't think I have the linguistic skills to articulate just how easy that game of football was yesterday, Connor, for the players. For the players on the pitch. So imagine what it must have felt like sitting on the bench. And remember as well, if Cameron Archer is doing what we want him to do when he's sitting on the bench and watching that match to understand how he can impact it if he's coming on, he's looking at Michael Keane. He's watching Michael Keane sleepwalk around the pitch. That is yawning, Justin. Cameron Archer can't control his natural emphatic response. That's not on him, Colin, for fuck's sake.
The third WhatsApp whinge. Does Myalenko think I'm the sort of person to not notice someone tying a knot around his head with tape? He's taking tape off his wrist and now he's tying a knot around his head as he's watching Sean Dyche crack up because his team are 4-0 down. Once again, if I was an Everton fan, ...
Look, he has to try to impress Dyche somehow. I mean, Ashley Young was playing for Aston Villa yesterday and he was given the full 90 minutes in an Everton jersey. Like, maybe he was just trying to differentiate himself from 38-year-old Ashley Young by making himself look as young as possible, tying fucking ribbons and pigtails into his hair. He'll be in a pair of dungarees next week.
It was honestly so strange. I'll try and find a picture for people. It was late enough in the match and it was showing you Dyche for a while. Obviously, they were having a conversation about him on commentary, and just behind him, it was so precise as well. It wasn't just, sometimes you can just lift something to your head and pull it back down. It was delicately wrapping it around his head and now trying to get the knot at the other side. It's like, oh my God, this is a club that remind me of 2015, 2016 Aston Villa.
And I cannot think of anything worse.
I'm sorry, just to clarify, I mean after Tim Sherwood left.
Everybody knows that. And you don't have to be a long-time listener to know that, Colin.
Anyway, we'll leave that there and we'll come back with the award categories after this.
All these, right, get over it. It's Aston Villa FC, not Jack Grealish FC. Get a fucking grip.
Somebody called me a wanker.
Let us mourn.
Somebody called me a freak.
We've just gotten the news. It's devastating. We're upset.
Somebody reported me to the Villa podcast on Twitter.
Do these people turn up to funerals or wakes saying, come on, get over it? It's the Doherty family, not the great Auntie Margaret family. It's time to find out what Uncle Jimmy's really made of. Time for Auntie Barbara to step up. Fucking psychopaths, let me mourn. I'll rally around the Doherty family. I want them to do well. I want them to succeed, but I'm fucking devastated. It's not going to be the same without Margaret.
R.I.P. Auntie Margaret. Let's start with the Rosenthal Award. Douglas Luiz has a big chance. He doesn't slot it when Bailey cuts back as well. Bailey has done the work on his right foot to now open up a cutback option for himself. And he's driving down the right. Now Ashley Young's worried about being done again. And Bailey chops it inside, tees up Douglas Luiz, who's just feeling confident, having already scored anyway. But he then tries to lay it off to Diaby. And he does lay it off, but Diaby's left-footed shot is saved by Pickford. But I feel like with the pace of Bailey's ball, I mean, Douglas Luiz should have just wrapped that into the bottom right. Instead, he just dropped it off to Diaby to try and put it into the bottom left.
Yeah, look, it's lovely. Completely overcomplicated football.
Yeah.
And Bailey picks up the ball and he does the right thing. He drives it Young again. He picks out his man, but his fucking man lets him down. He's trying to start another relationship with Diaby. Didn't appreciate what he had with Bailey, Connor, and now he's gone and ruined it all.
The Abbey volley from the look at Dean Crosser. Come on, like just give us something. Just give me. I'm going to say just let me enjoy myself. They did win 4-0, so I can't be that bloody bratish. But I mean, such a nice crowd. I mean, look at Dean is the only person to get blocked. I mean, I've never seen somebody get blocked as much for a cross, and it still goes in the same direction he wants it to go. He must put serious whip and power into his crosses, and it goes the whole way around to the back post where there's two unmarked Aston Villa players. Diaby's there, and my God, he catches it well with his right foot. It's a good save from Pickford, and he gets it off the inside of the post. It goes the whole way across the line and out the other side, and just would have been amazing into the whole end as well.
Yeah, you'd want to be living in fantasy land to believe Dini's looking for Diaby there. But fucking Diaby's bought a ticket to Disneyland, hasn't he? Jesus Christ. And I can't think of a bigger compliment than thinking, whenever I saw that ball looping over to the back post and I saw Diaby there, a ball landing over the defender's shoulder onto his bad foot, I was thinking, he's going to fucking rattle this. Like, what a compliment for me to think he could possibly score that. And Christ almighty, what a connection. And yeah, Pickford does well. They move a foot to his left and, tip it under the inside of the post and almost into his own net. So you have to give him credit for
that. Everton point of view, Danjuma gets in behind Pau Torres. Let's keep an eye on that one. That reminded me too much of Harry Maguire. Not the way he moved, just the way he fell asleep and lost a man in behind him.
The way he didn't move.
Yeah. Martinez gets out on the near post and makes a save. But yeah, that was a little bit worrying. Just a very easy 1-2.
Yeah, like Torres is defending like Leon Bailey against Saudi Arabia, and like I know Bailey looks like a hold-end hero today, but don't try to fucking ingratiate yourself to the Villa Park crowd by mimicking Bailey's defending against Saudi Arabia. Be your own man, pal, and follow your man.
Oh, Diaby, another one where he drops into the 10, turns around, drives, slides through Watkins, and Watkins pulls it wide, and he goes for the bottom left. Do you know what the annoying thing about this is? And we've seen Watkins do this loads, right? I don't know if that goal was even on anyway. You know, we've seen him pull that ball and it goes narrowly wide of the post, and you're like, the way he was running with his left shoulder to the net, the way Pickford had covered the angle, and he still tries to. Like, I don't know if he's ever going to put that in from that type of shot with his instep into the bottom left.
Yeah, like if it's on target, Pickford saving it, so he has to either try to think the keeper or to roll it back. But again, like it was so easy, and Diaby is so good at exploiting it with his passing yesterday. But the best thing about this was Leon Bailey burst in a gut to try to get onto that pass. That's what I want to fucking see. Villa playing the ball into the box, and I want to see players getting into the box. And Leon Bailey is an absolute devil for not doing this last year, standing back and watching someone else pass the ball normally. Get into the box, and he was absolutely herring in there. He nearly nudged Watkins off it. He was so desperate to get onto it.
Yeah. And then Emi Martinez made another good couple of saves at the back post. Was it a corner? Went in whole way around, and Neil Mopai, the right man from our point of view, was there, but he caught it decently. Might have been on the volley as well. Martinez reacted and saved it, and he got up to save it at the front post and gave it the fists up. And yeah, just no entry today, really.
I genuinely don't think anyone was assigned to pick up Neil Mopai. Like I actually think they all did their job. Has everyone got someone? A couple of people looked around, saw Mopai. Yep, all good. Like, unbelievable. And he made a mess of both of them. Like the volley's not good. It's a good save from Martinez, but he has to do better than that. He's got time to take a touch. Like I said, there's nobody concerned about him. Even if he had taken it down, I think Konza would have turned around and just kept watching him. And he just hits it almost straight at Martinez. And then I don't know what he's trying to do with a follow-up. I know the ball's rolling towards the byline, but he has to be calmer there.
Yeah. Well, it's rolling towards the byline because of his touch. So it's like you're saying at time you take a touch, but I think he proved that maybe he was right. He just hit it first time because that's what happens when he tries to take a touch, and then all he's trying to do is it's like that old classic. Like second touch is a tackle. His second touch is trying to keep the ball in play. And he didn't even succeed. He actually gave the goal kick, so he denied Martinez a. Oh my God! I was going to say they denied Martinez a save point in fantasy football.
Fuck me.
I actually heard myself that time through your ears, so don't worry.
And you said it anyway. The next
said
time
it
you hear
anyway.
me through your ears, fuck, the next time you hear me through your, how else are you going to hear me?
I was going to say, though, if I was hearing you or if I was letting you in too much, I wouldn't be able to hear any of my own thoughts. Just be you roaring in my head. Then, who's the winner? Sorry. So we've got. I think it's Douglas Luiz. Like Watkins one probably looks a bit more jarring. It looks like it's 1-on-1. Maybe it was. Like he could have taken a touch, taken it around Pickford, or tried to put it in the bottom right. But I'm sort of looking at the Douglas Luiz one when Bailey cuts it back. Douglas Luiz didn't even shoot; he just teed up the Abbey. But I think if he shoots there, he scores.
Yeah, it's a bad decision from Doug. He has to just wrap his big toe around it.
Yeah. The Tim Sherwood, we played 2 number 10s and bamboozled them award. I mean, we have to give a shout out to getting John McGinn off that left flank. I was worried about him being on the left, and he was on the left again, but he comes into a more central position, and he was just absolutely brilliant. I'm going to talk a bit more about him in a little while, but to that same point, and it's a second nomination, but it's wrapped in the first one. This was a masterclass of proving a point to your team from Unai Emery. I mean, he played the exact same team as he did against Newcastle. Even McGinn on the left, even Bailey on the right. He made the exact same switch, probably around the same time, to a 3-5-2 when he brought on Diego Carlos. And he presumably said to them after, I told you this fucking works. Don't you dare even think about pinning that 5-1 nonsense on me. You not balls that you balls it up. The plan works. Here we go. Just give me Everton every week and I'll prove to you that it works.
I think that's the big thing, really, though, isn't it? I mean, Sean Dyche looked suspiciously like a fascist yesterday, and he continued his crimes against football when he was out there. And they were diabolically set up, and his players didn't look like they were trying for him either. And while our players were quite good yesterday, and it's good to get those 90 minutes into their legs, we have a European playoff coming up, and you can play all the friendlies you want, but you can't ever replicate the intensity of a competitive game. I mean, the fixtures haven't been very kind to us. It's a big gap. I think it's 11 days between our first 2 games of the season, Saudi Arabia and Hibernia. So hopefully we'll have recovered from the Saudi game by the time the Hibernian game comes around.
Do you like Glenn Whelan take a 90th minute penalty award? I just want Austin McPhee to know that I'm monitoring the situation of us seemingly not putting any corners into the box.
But like,
I'm not even nominating him just yet. I'm just letting him know that I'm marking his card. I'm keeping an eye on it.
Oh, all right, yeah. If you ever listen to this podcast, Connie wouldn't need to know that we're monitoring him. But that was unbelievably frustrating. Yes, Jordan Pickford shows you who he is, as if he doesn't know how short Jordan Pickford's arms as well. But who has Douglas Luiz scored against from corner kicks in the Premier League? Aaron Ramsdale. Jordan Pickford's fucking hero. Put the ball, have a shot. I cannot believe that Douglas Luiz didn't have one shot yesterday from a corner. It was incredible. And not only that, we didn't hang one ball into the 6-yard box. We were doing the same set piece every time. It was roll it out laboriously to Digne, give it back to Douglas Luiz, and then give it to John McGinn to cross from a worse angle. It was ridiculous. Get that ball into that Everton box and get it in there on top of the defenders that don't exist and the goalkeepers whose arms don't exist.
Like, it's so true, because I think I have a predisposition with a Sean Dyche team, like those 4 words, a Sean Dyche team, and I was almost leaning towards giving McPhee the benefit of the doubt, just to say, well, he knows when he puts the ball in against a Sean Dyche team, it's just going to be headed out. And the name in my head is Tarkowski. Sure, look, he deals with that. It's bread and butter. He's done it all before at Burnley. And then I see Michael Keane play. And it's like, just put it in. And I know Ashley Young plays left back for him. And I know how not good he was for us at corners. And I know James Garner's running around the midfield there. I know Dominic Calvert-Lewin is still holding his face. Somebody is going to be free if you put a ball into the box. I know Pickford isn't going to help them. So put it in to the middle of the box if you want. Put it on top of the keeper. Or like you say, have a shot. It sounds crazy. It sounds funny. It sounds like we're almost taking the piss. Douglas Luiz, take another shot from a corner. You score a big percentage of them. A big percentage of them. And even those ones... And they were obviously routines, they weren't really shots, but he was able to put it right on the front post, or about 5 yards, sort of nearer to him on the front post, so Tyrone Mings could flick it across from the byline. I mean, Diego Carlos came on there. Let's get some of that going again. I mean, Austin McPhee has created some really nice pieces of work of Aston Villa's corners. We're allowed to do them again. Do another one. Like just have a shot. Just do it again.
Yeah, like, and you have to know your teams you're playing against. And I'm all for Douglas Luiz shooting from corners against everybody, but I'm absolutely demanding he does it against Jordan Pickford as well. And you're saying toss a few into the box, somebody's going to get free because Dominic Calvert-Lewin's walking around holding his cheek, and Ashley Young is playing. 4 players were free in the middle of the box from a Matt Cash fucking cross that took a long time to come in as well. We didn't rip down the wing. That came back out onto Matt Cash's left foot, and our centre half and both our centre forwards are free in the box. It's incredible.
Yeah, incredible. So, like I say, I'm not going to nominate McPhee right now, but just keep an eye on it. The Paul Merson, that is just filthy award. It goes to Philippe Coutinho for his little nutmeg, even though it led to a John McGinn style 40-meter shot that he should be fined for. But come on, I'm not that big an asshole to fine him today. He's gone off injured. The nuts was very nice. I give him his due for that. And it's always very important to get the nutmeg at the other side of the nutmeg. These people who knock the ball through your leg and lose the ball and laugh at you anyway.
Oh, sorry, do you not think Coutinho did that? Coutinho nutmeg somebody and then laughed at him by having a shot from fucking 45 yards? I don't even want this ball, and I fucking pretended that he was going to try and score.
But he did complete the nutmeg, which is all we're focusing on right now. The shot was ridiculous. I assume he just thought that was so good. Imagine I now score. Like, he wouldn't have needed the nutmeg to make that goal be one of the best goals of all time from where he shot from. Just shoot from there anyway, whenever you want. It's the same theory. But yeah, it was a nice nutmeg. I couldn't really think of any other filthy moments, really. Some nice passages of play and some nice players running with the ball and banging it through the lines, but that was the only one really that stood out. And maybe I just felt sorry for him because I saw him coming off in a lot of pain, and I was like, Jesus. Well, I was thinking 2 things. It might be the end of his Villa career. I mean, hopefully he's not that long term in injury, but he was already sort of on the wane anyway, and that looked bad. And I think I felt bad as well because I noticed him celebrating with John Duran. John Duran was doing the little baby celebration, and no confirmation on this, but it looked like Coutinho had just found out that he was having a baby for the first time, and he looked just like a really pure moment. It was like, oh, are you having a baby? And it was, I don't know, it was nice to see players out of context in their real life. But I think the second thing I was thinking as well is, oh my God, we're going to need a third set of t-shirts for a player before a game, like when we get our picture to say we're all with you, Tyrone Mings, we're all with you, Emi Buendia, we're all with you, Coutinho.
It did look like a particularly bad one, didn't it? Because he couldn't even put his leg on the ground, and I couldn't tell if it was his hamstring or his knee initially. But having to be carried off and not touch the ground is a bad sign.
Yeah, very bad. Let's do the Weimann meter, the Andreas Weimann I could never hate you meter, and who is going up in the I could never hate you stakes? Sounds ironic. But Leon Bailey is zooming up that meter, and he's going up a lot. And of course I could hate him, and I will again. But on a spectrum of appreciation for what he does and what he brings, he's gone right up again. Like he was absolutely brilliant. It was good effort as well, but he was great. It started off. He got a dodgy enough ball, and it looked like he was trying to cut inside, and he was being caught out by it. But he somehow managed to shift it back to the wing and just drive down the wing, and it was like, oh, that's a good start. Like, almost even mentally for him to think, I almost lost it doing that thing I seem to always want to do automatically, and I got a lot of space by going straight down the wing. So that was a really good start for him, and then it just continued from there, and he got an assist and a goal.
Yeah, and I can only imagine that last year when Ashley Young was marking him in training, he was probably letting him go past him every once in a while to try and boost his confidence. So Leon Bailey was coming into this game thinking, I toast this lad every day at training. This has to be my day. And they were right. They were absolutely right to tell Leon Bailey to go after Ashley Young and to just remind him to go on the outside every once in a while. This will work. And we were talking before the game on the way up to the bar. Why don't we just play Leon Bailey on the left wing to try and take that to remind them to go down the wing every once in a while, to remind them what the former job of a winger used to be, is to go on the outside every once in a while, and just even to mix it up. And hopefully now that'll sink into Leon Bailey's head, that if you mix it up, you'll get more chances on the other side. And we all know the benefit of Leon Bailey going onto his right foot as well, and hopefully now he'll appreciate it as well.
Yeah. Emi Martinez's attitude going up. Nice little training clip came out then from during the week where he's making a couple of nice saves and he's absolutely loving it. And he turns to the camera guy, says, "Clean sheet Sunday, mate." And there we go. He delivers. I was looking at that thinking, he is so sure he's keeping a clean sheet. Why does he not just have that attitude going into every game? And then I remembered, he is so sure he's playing Everton on Sunday. That's why he said it. That's why he knows it's happening.
Yeah, Emi Martinez can read, and he saw the fixture list. That's essentially what happened. But thinking about the Danjuma one as well, because I don't think I didn't actually give him enough credit for either of the two big saves, but the Danjuma one as well, when you watch it back, Danjuma gets the ball and he looks like he's free, and Emi Martinez is waiting. Again, he's just standing up, waiting to see what Danjuma's going to do, and then when it becomes obvious to him that Danjuma's going to shoot, then he makes his move to close down the space. He doesn't just go running out and make Danjuma's mind up for him to pull it across the box. He waits for Danjuma. And there's some players of a certain ability, when you get inside their heads, when you ask them to do something, they mightn't do a very good job of it. And Danjuma just ends up having a bit of a Theo Walcott moment and just smashing it straight at the goalkeeper. These players can look brilliant if you make up their minds for them. You let them try and make up their own minds, and they'll reveal just how bright they are.
Going up, Diego Carlos. I don't know why. I don't know what it is. There's some people, and I never knew I felt this way about him until I was thinking about who's going up today. Some people just make you feel good, make you feel better about things. And I don't even mean that in a football sense. There's just something about Diego Carlos right now that I'm enjoying. I just have a good feeling about him.
Conan,
I like seeing him.
I know it's not coming from a football perspective. You're just thinking about, you want to be held by his big strong arms. It just makes you feel better. It's just reassuring to see those biceps bulging. You think everything's going to be okay. We are going to see out this 3-0 win.
I actually do think there's a bit of that in it. And there is definitely a bit of the meatiness that I do like as well, especially now that Tyrone Mings isn't there. It's like, it's good to know that. It's good to know we've got backup there if we need it. Any sort of physical confrontation. We've got Big Diego to call him. He does make you feel safe. I don't know, he looks good. When he gets the ball as well, he's pinging it around sometimes. I forgot towards the end of last season, he came on, just picked out a couple of lovely passes to Ollie Watkins, and it's like, yeah, Diego. I wouldn't mind. Like, I definitely want to see him now starting against Hibernian and starting to get a few more minutes into his leg as well, and a bit more, I suppose, of an idea of like, let's use this guy more often going forward. And maybe that's what Unai Emery is thinking going forward with the team, is because that's now twice in 2 games that he switched to a 3-5-2, regardless of what was happening on the score sheet as well. So I wonder what he's cooking up there, but all I know is that I like that one of my favorite ingredients, Diego Carlos, is there. And I don't have a good palate. I can't tell you why I really like that ingredient, but I do like it.
And that's okay, Conan. That's okay. And I'm just glad for Steven Gerrard as well that maybe one of his signings isn't absolutely diabolical.
Kamara was good. Diego Carlos, we don't know if he's going to be really good yet. All I know is I like him. Robin Olsen didn't really work out that well, did it?
Felipe Coutinho, not really doing it for me. Jan Bednarak.
Bednarak, oh my god. They've been trying to get Dean off the wages, obviously, for a long time. I mean, it gets strange. He's there, like, their left back's injured. He's played decently, I would say, especially against Everton there. But it's like, we need to. This is ridiculous how much we're paying you. Let's get him off the books. And the only other one I can think of is Augustinson, speaking of left backs.
And speaking of all our players who are forgettable, Leander Den Donker.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Anyway, going up, Douglas Luiz, that's pretty obvious. Don't even need to talk about it. He's running the show in there. And Mr. John McGinn going up. And there was a stat that flashed up when Sky were giving him man of the match. And they put whatever, like 4 or 5 stats together where he was first out of the 22 players or whoever amount played in that game on Sunday. And one of them, I thought, really summed up John McGinn well. It said he was first for forward passes under pressure. That's such a. You think of those words together, think about what it means, and you can see John McGinn spinning around someone, being pushed over, keeping his balance, and still driving forward or running forward of it or banging it in forward to look at Dean or into Diaby or Watkins, and like that's what he does when he's at his best. Like obviously he does all the work and whatever else, and obviously like let's be real, John McGinn has shown that he's very tactically clued in if he's able to play in all these different positions that he's played in for his Aston Villa career and be effective in all of them. I know he's out the left coming in, obviously, but he's still doing a really important job for the team, but he's still being really effective as well. He's getting the goal, his run was timed well, he scores it off his right too. He was very good, and like his arse was very effective as well. It was, not standing and just holding the boys off his arse to really show off the strength of it. No, he was trying to show how nimble his arse can be as well. Like he was banging it off someone and then sort of piling away with it as well. He was using it to spin. Like anytime John McGinn uses his arse to spin, I never mind that really. It's just when he stops and plants himself until he gets taken off. That was always the problem.
Yeah, passes forward under pressure is a stat that's been created for John McGinn. It's just like the time people were trying to explain how good Jack Grealish was and had to throw up most fouls one. This is only relevant to John McGinn. Passes under pressure, and you're talking about his arse there. Yeah, he wasn't just holding people off with him; he was spitting. He was chewing them up with his arse and spitting them back out. And there was one where he did a Cruyff turn, but jumped in with his arse beforehand. I think it was James Garner. He ended up farting out the other end and then did a Cruyff turn with the ball, and it was absolutely ridiculous looking. It somehow worked so well. And initially, whenever we saw him lunging in to do this, both of us went, oh! And then he just came out with a ball again and gave it to Coutinho.
Yeah, he was very good. Anybody else in particular you want to highlight?
No, I think you've hit all the big ones there. Pau Torres was good on the ball, not brilliant defensively. There's one or two moments where I was like, ooh, maybe I can see what people are talking about here. But again, it's his first start in the Premier League. I'm sure it'll come better.
Yeah, and I mentioned Diego Carlos as well, just in case you were going to mention him too. So he's there. All right, questions we can't answer, but probably will. Should United spend another few hundred million? I saw. I wasn't following. I was watching the United match, or the second half of it anyway. But I wasn't really following much of the commentary around it. But I just saw a tweet. I didn't even read the article, but it was Gary Neville lambasting the Glazers. It's just like shot out by AI. This thing now, United lose, Neville goes at the Glazers, and this time he's going at them for the midfield. Now, Gary Neville has been going at the Glazers and going at United's team, in terms of the Glazers having spent money into the team for a long time now. I mean, this has all started under Solskjaer as well. And I don't know who they haven't gotten that Gary Neville has asked for. I mean, famously, and we've mentioned it loads of times, he did say that, like, as if the team was complete now, he said, Varane, Sancho, Kane, and that's the title. That's done. Like, we're ahead of Man City and Liverpool now if you give us those three players. And they got two of them, and they got Ronaldo, they got Cristiano Ronaldo instead of Kane. He got nowhere near the fucking league. And then since then, they've just pumped more and more and more and more money into the team. They've gotten a new manager, got pumped more and more money into the team. He's now saying the midfield's a disgrace. That's what he's implying. They've just signed Casemiro last year, and they gave him a 5-year contract. Nobody told them to do that, but that's what you could say. But they did. Gary Neville and everybody else told them to do that. If United had looked at that and said, Casemiro's available, but it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money, and it's 5 years. I don't think this is worth it. We don't know what he's going to be like next year, what he's going to be like the year after that. If they had just held fire on that, let's hold out and get somebody else. They would have been lambasted. Imagine the scoring that would have came over them. So in a way, the Glazers are permanently, or whoever's running the club, and it's not a good way of doing it, but they're permanently reacting to all these demands from all these United fans that are being whipped up every single week by Gary Neville. We need this. So they go and they sign these players. And then what happens is, the problem is people are now looking at people like Harry Maguire, Scott McTominay, who they didn't sign him, but we can't get these players off the books. Sancho, the squad's too bloated. Nobody will buy your players. It's a disgrace. And it's because they've bought every single person you've asked them to buy. And like now they've basically added Mason Mount and Casemiro into their midfield three. They've signed 2 of their last midfield 3 in the last year. Christian Eriksen's the other option there. And now Gary Neville is saying this midfield is a disgrace. The board have hung Ten Hag up to dry because they didn't give him a midfield. Honestly, like it would actually be a really good social study for them. And they've obviously got enough money, and United have enough money, and they're happy enough to run into more debt. So it would be a good social study for them to just buy every single player and every single position that Neville now insists that they need to buy in for the next couple of years, and then see where we're at after that. We'll be in the exact same position.
Every time I look at Man United's match day squad, I remember that they've spent 400 million quid, and I ask myself, where is that money? Where is it? Like, I can't see where that money is on the team sheet. And like Man United, you're right, Man United fans have gotten everything they've asked for. We don't need to do a social study. We know it's already happened. They've got everything they've asked for, including the manager as well. And they are so desperate for this manager to work as well. Like, we finally have a world-class manager. And that was after 2 years of dying on the Solskjaer hill as well. Just repeatedly taking bullets every fucking week, getting riddled. Like, stop trying to wriggle out unless there's a fucking sniper in the tower. Play dead because your fucking manager is. But that constant repetition of finally we have a world-class manager during a season where they lost 7-0 to their biggest rivals and were 4-0 down at half-time against their local rivals and embarrassed in Europe, turfed out by Sevilla. Like some of them were talking about the City game saying, with straight faces, we won the second half. At least we showed a bit of fight. You were 4-0 down at half-time. You were throwing punches in a fucking straitjacket. And now, here we are. Erik Ten Hag, the man you wanted, to finally got a world-class manager. Ten Hag is throwing 400 million on top of Solskjaer's 450 million. Like, they could have 17 50 million pound players. Where are they? Like, they're rotating Anthony, Sancho, Garnacho and Pellistri in the wings. You have Mason Mount playing centre midfield with Casemiro, who looked like he arrived back for pre-season training, carrying his luggage in his fucking stomach. And the performance against Spurs, my God. Like, I'd honestly say the cleaners found the changing room floor just fucking littered with plaster Paris socks the next morning, because a bigger group of wankers you could not wish to find. Like, self-indulgent, lazy whining tossers. Like, can you imagine how it must feel to be a sound Man United fan? And I'm sure one or two of them exist. And just having to watch that team, like Bruno Fernandes as their captain. And I know there might be some rival fans thinking about Emi Martinez and how big of a cunt he is. But Emi Martinez is being a cunt for Aston Villa. Emi Martinez wants to win for Aston Villa. Bruno Fernandes is being a cunt because he's a cunt. And Bruno Fernandes wants to win for Bruno Fernandes. And that is it. I cannot imagine what it's like to watch that team.
Yeah, it would be really grim. Like, they really had all the hallmarks of a side who were at the end of a managerial reign. Just this guy's out of time. He's getting sacked after this match. This was the second game of the season, and they were away to Spurs. And Spurs, who they famously always laugh at for being a sort of walkover for Man United, and they looked so far out of ideas. They looked so unfit. It looked like this is just crying out for a new manager, a proper manager to come in and put them in this shape. But that's never going to happen because we're just at the start of a second season of, like you say, the manager they wanted, the manager they will back as world class now for the next few years. So what's going to happen now in the meantime is he's just going to be back to spend another 90 million on another player like Anthony. He's going to be back to spend another 75 million on another player like Sancho. I think that was Solskjaer who got him, but he's going to be back to go find another Casemiro. He's going to be back to go get another Hojlund, and who's not going to play up front when he needs a striker. It's I don't know. It's depressing. Yeah, sometimes you really do count your blessings. Like you watch other teams sometimes in the Premier League, and when you are going for them and you're sort of swaying towards them every so often, you realize, geez, actually, it's fine. It's fine supporting Villa. Like you're looking at these hopeless sides coming up against United or whoever else, and you're just like, they don't have it. Diaby would have it. He'd be able to do something here. Leon Bailey would be able to do something here. These players don't have players of that caliber. And I'm looking at United now thinking, God, thank God, that's not my team. Hashtag not my team.
But the amount of times against Spurs where I saw Casemiro arriving onto the ball at the edge of the box, either arriving late or, picking the ball up there and then trying to thread through pass. Is this the system you've got? Casemiro standing at the tip of the D as the playmaker? Fuck me, what were you working on all summer?
Yeah. Anyway, we'll leave that there. We've got a whole season of enjoyment about Aston Villa and about other clubs, so we'll pace ourselves. Thanks a million for listening. We've got a Wednesday show as well, so we definitely should be pacing ourselves. So please do subscribe wherever you're getting your podcast. I know you hear that at the end of a podcast and you just sort of switch off, but it does help, and it's actually very helpful for us then, because I don't like having to send out a tweet telling you that the podcast is coming at this time and then people holding me exactly to that time then as well. I'm trying to juggle a lot of people here. I'm trying to keep them all happy. I can't do it. I'm struggling. So just subscribe and then you get the podcast whenever it drops. But I really do. It's actually nice, knowing that you are getting pissed off that the podcast is an hour or two after we said it was going to be. That is a nice feeling, as scary as it is sometimes. I mean, I can't even face a Twitter account sometimes when I know, oh God, the podcast isn't going to go out until tomorrow. What are they going to think? Because I can be sure they're going to tell me what they think. But I do appreciate it. I really do. So it'd be nice if you subscribed as well, and wherever you get your podcasts. And we're going to chat to you on Wednesday. One thing I didn't talk about, again, in the interest of pacing ourselves, is Unai Emery's nice little zippy cardigan as well that went over that nice shirt. I know you appreciate that, Liam, as a man of high fashion, a man who likes his suits, and that was appropriate suit wear. We could talk about it now, or we could talk about it on Wednesday if you like.
Sure, we'll see what happens on Wednesday. Just in case he's wearing something even better, Colin.
Thanks a million for listening, and we'll chat to you then.